Imagine you're standing at these gates, towering above you like the entrance to hell itself. Behind you, nothing. No food, no home, no hope. Your children are starving. Their hollow eyes beg you for something, anything. You have two choices: watch them die on the streets, or walk through these gates. But here's the twisted truth. These aren't hospital gates. These aren't charity doors. This is your punishment, your crime. Being poor. Welcome to the Victorian Workhouse, where Britain decided that poverty wasn't a problem to solve, it was a sin to punish. Victorian Workhouse, where the poor were punished for being poor. The System of Cruelty, 1834, the Poor Law Amendment Act, British Parliament's solution to poverty. But this wasn't about helping people. It was about punishing them so severely that they'd rather die on the streets than ask for help. The logic was simple and savage. Make life inside the workhouse worse than the worst life outside. Make it so unbearable that only the truly desperate would enter. And they succeeded. Look at these walls. Stone. Cold. Prison-like, because that's exactly what this was. A prison for people whose only crime was being unable to feed themselves. The moment you stepped through those iron gates, your life as you knew it ended. First, they took everything. Your clothes, your belongings, whatever dignity you had left, gone. Then came the uniform, scratchy, humiliating, designed to strip away your identity. But the cruelest part? The moment that haunted thousands of families. They separated families. Husbands from wives, parents from children, brothers from sisters. You could be standing 5 meters from your crying child, and the rules forbade you from even speaking to them. Imagine that. Your 6-year-old son is sobbing in the next room. You can hear him calling for you, but you're forbidden, under threat of punishment, from comforting your own child. Daily life in hell. 6 a.m. The bell rings. Not a gentle wake-up call. A harsh metallic clang that echoes through stone corridors. This bell controlled every moment of your existence. You had 30 minutes to get up, wash in freezing water, and stand for roll call. Miss it? Punishment. Breakfast at 6:30. What did they feed you? Thin gruel. Watery. Tasteless. Designed to keep you alive barely but never satisfied. The rules stated, silence, order, and decorum shall be maintained. You ate in complete silence. No talking. No comfort, just the sound of hundreds of spoons scraping metal bowls. Then, work. From 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., you worked. Hard labor, mindless, soul-crushing. Women picked oakum, using a sharp spike to tear apart old rope fibers until their fingers bled. Hour after hour, day after day, men broke stones, crushed bones for fertilizer. And here's where it gets truly horrific. At the Andover Workhouse in 1845, investigators discovered something unthinkable. The inmates assigned to crush animal bones into fertilizer were so starving that they fought each other for those bones, not to sell them, not to trade them, to eat them. They cracked open rotting animal bones with their teeth, desperate to suck out any trace of marrow inside. One witness testified, "I have seen them eat the meat and gristle off the bones when they should have been grinding them." This is what Victorian Britain called help for the poor. The children, but the greatest tragedy, the children. Innocent, guilty of nothing except being born poor. At 6 years old, you could find yourself separated from your mother, sent to sleep in a room with 40 other children, crammed 4 to a bed. Your daily routine? Wake up, eat watery porridge, work, eat bread and thin soup, work more, sleep, no toys, no play, no childhood. Punishments for children were barbaric. Historical records from Hereford Workhouse tell us of 2 6-year-old boys, 6 years old, caned for falling asleep during Sunday service. 8 boys flogged in front of everyone for misbehaving in class. One superintendent's punishment for disobedient children: lock them in the workhouse morgue overnight with the dead bodies. Let that sink in. 6-year-old children locked in a room with corpses as punishment. One boy who survived this hell was John Rowlands. You might know him by his later name, Henry Morton Stanley, the explorer famous for finding Dr. Livingstone in Africa. But before his adventures, he was a terrified child in St. Asaph Workhouse. Years later, he wrote about his experience. To the aged, it is a house of slow death. To the young, it is a house of torture. He witnessed his classmate, Willie Roberts, beaten to death by the schoolmaster. When Stanley sneaked into the morgue, he found Willie's body covered in bruises and broken bones. That's when young Stanley made his choice. Risk dying on the streets rather than stay another day in that hell. He escaped. He survived. He got lucky. Most didn't. The scandals that shocked a nation by the mid-1800s, rumors of workhouse horrors were everywhere, but the public, the comfortable middle and upper classes, didn't want to believe them until the scandals became too big to ignore. 1846. Huddersfield Workhouse. A typhus outbreak exposes the truth. Journalists who investigated found 3 patients in each bed, children scratching themselves raw from lice, sewage overflowing, the living sharing rooms with the dead, typhus victims treated on piles of lice-infested straw instead of beds, women giving birth in the same room as people dying from infectious diseases, and the same pots used for cooking were used to wash soiled linens and feces-stained bedclothes. 1864. Timothy Daly, a 28-year-old Irish man with rheumatism, admitted to Holborn Union Workhouse Infirmary. 6 weeks later, he was dead. The inquest revealed he'd been confined to a bed barely longer than his body. He developed bed sores so deep they reached the bones of his hips. His bandages never changed. His sores, treated once, with a poultice made of beer grounds. He died from neglect, from bed sores, from being treated like garbage. Florence Nightingale used his case to finally force reforms. She later wrote to a friend, "I was so obliged to that poor man for dying. His death saved countless others." A CT5. The cruel irony. Here's the cruelest irony of all. While inmates starved on gruel and pork water, literally the water meat was boiled in. The guardians who oversaw these workhouses lived like kings. 1. London. A scandal revealed what the Board of Guardians ate at their monthly workhouse meetings. Listen to this menu. Bread, cheese, beer, and liquor to start. Then fish, beef, roast mutton, game birds, puddings, and sweets, followed by champagne and fine wines. They ate this inside the workhouse, while inmates could see them through the windows, starving. The guardians were supposed to inspect conditions, to ensure humane treatment. Instead, they showed up, ate like emperors, and left. One woman, Anna Scheuer, died at Droxford Workhouse from mortification of the bowels. Essentially, her intestines failed from malnutrition. The investigation revealed inmates were being served pork water instead of soup. Their puddings were made from the scum skimmed off that pork water. When the guardians ordered real meat soup be served, it lasted 3 weeks. Then back to pork water. A CT6, the end and legacy. The Victorian Workhouse wasn't just a building. It was a philosophy, a belief that poverty was a moral failing, that the poor deserved punishment, not help. But slowly, the truth got out. Writers like Charles Dickens exposed the horrors in novels like Oliver Twist. Reformers like Florence Nightingale fought for change. Survivors like William Crookes, who entered Poplar Workhouse as an 8-year-old, rose to power and changed the laws. By 1929, new legislation allowed workhouses to be converted to hospitals. In 1948, the National Assistance Act finally abolished them completely, but the buildings remained. Converted into hospitals, schools, government offices. Walk through any old British city and you'll see them. Stone buildings, imposing, cold. The iron gates are gone. The uniforms are gone. The cruelty is gone, but the memory remains. Today, 1 in 10 British people can trace a direct family connection to the workhouse, which means there's a good chance someone in your family tree stood at those iron gates, made that impossible choice, survived that hell, or didn't. The Victorian Workhouse wasn't designed to help the poor. It was designed to punish them for existing, to break their spirit, to make them disappear. It was Britain's answer to poverty, not compassion, not opportunity, just cruelty. Pure, calculated cruelty. This was the Victorian Workhouse, where poverty wasn't a problem to solve, it was a crime to punish. Between 1834 to 1929, millions passed through workhouse gates. Many never left. This is their story.